Hello and welcome back to the Proactive Studio. I'm Tyler Tully, and joining me today is International Graphite Managing Director and CEO Andrew Worland, after it had a special visit from Prime Minister Anthony Albanese at its processing and R&D facility in Collie here in Western Australia. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Tyler.
So obviously you've had this significant milestone for IG6. Why did you get to host the PM?
Yeah, it was great to have the Prime Minister in the southwest, but also just take a bit of his time on Sunday to come and drop in and see what we've done. The importance of it really is because both the state and federal government have been instrumental in the development of that facility. We've been awarded about $13.2 million worth of government grants over the last 2 to 3 years, of which we've received probably 6.7 or thereabouts of those grants thus far. And much of that commitment has gone into developing the R&D facilities we've got in Collie. And so it's really the first steps of, if you like, government support for what is going to be significant mining and processing operation that we're going to bring to market down at Collie and from our Springdale Graphite project down in the south of Western Australia.
Yeah, as you said, you've received over $13 million dollars, or been awarded rather, grants
Yep.
from the government. How influential would you say that government support has been in your operations?
It's really, really important because the critical minerals industry is a difficult one to break into. It's one thing to be able to drill and understand the process for developing deposits. We're very good at that in Australia, but we have less experience in downstream processing and value adding to our materials. And that includes not just, if you like, professional experience, but also investor experience. And so it isn't easy to be able to pull together the capital for downstream processing facilities in Australia. And so government have been extremely important in helping us get through those research and development phases of the project.
So let's talk now about your Collie facility. Can you give us a bit of a background? I understand that it's the first of its kind here in Australia.
Yeah, yeah, we established it back in 2021, just before we were listed. We had a small grant of $2 million awarded to us by the state government of Western Australia, and we used that to purchase pilot scale micronizing and spherodizing plant. And they are the first two steps in what's colloquially known as the downstream processing of graphite in the industry. So we operated those facilities. We imported concentrates from overseas initially to be able to work up our own skill base in the art of micronizing and spherodizing. And more recently, we've been able to process concentrates we've generated from the Springdale Graphite project based off the drill core that we've assembled from the project. And so we're getting a significant amount of expertise in the processing of graphite concentrates. And there wouldn't be another group in sort of Australia, certainly, and much of Africa that are in the development phase of the project, where their own people are actually got their hands on the wheel here and doing the test work programs. And we think that's a real differentiator for us as a company. We've expanded the facility subsequently to include what we call a qualification scale micronizing plant. And what that allows us to do is to generate sample materials that of a quality and specification that customers can rely upon, and that is used then to further arrange for offtakes. Now, the micronizing plant itself, at a qualification scale, is really looking to help us qualify what you otherwise would refer to as byproducts from the value adding downstream processing circuit. And so we still obviously have work to do to take that product from a spherodized product through to a purified and a coated product for the battery anode world. But this is a very important part of our, just further developing our skill set in the process flow sheet.
And let's get into graphite now. Could you give us a bit of an overview about the graphite market and how important it is, especially given the rising demand of Australian products?
Yeah, there's some really interesting statistics coming out of the International Energy Association at the moment. 1 in 5 new vehicle registrations in Europe last year was electric. 1 in 10 in the US is electric. The industry, in terms of electric vehicles, has grown from something like 1 million units sold in 2017, 2018 to 14 million units sold last year. and the projections are for that to sort of hit 45 million vehicles plus in 2035, so in just over 10 years' time. So that requires an enormous amount of expansion in mined graphite supply and then processed graphite supply. And the markets, clearly China has been leading the world in terms of electric vehicle rollout, but Europe and North America in particular are rapidly advancing their particular market shares. And we would see probably combined around 30 to 40% market share in those two economies by 2035. So all that means is that Europe and North America require significant amounts of material, and we know that their entire policy framework at the moment is geared to sourcing product from allied nations and Australia in particular. So we think we've got a real opportunity to enter into those particular markets. And there's a significant amount of government support coming from things like the IRA out of the US. You would have seen over the weekend, Exim Bank and Export Finance Australia have solidified their partnership to assist in development of critical minerals projects between Australia and the US. And we're going to be at the forefront of those initiatives. So we're very excited about that. In terms of the macro supply picture, there is just a very limited amount of new graphite that can come to market in anywhere near the quantities of materials that those consumers are requiring for those vehicle and stationary battery consumption. So there's lots of room in the market for a number of companies, and we just need to keep working away at our projects and try to make sure that we're at the head of the queue.
And you're definitely positioned to capitalise on that opportunity. Before we end, could you just talk us through what does the rest of the year look like?
Yeah, so we've gone through some challenging times in the capital markets over the last 6 to 12 months. So we are being pretty cautious with our cash. We're managing our cash carefully. We have been doing some what we consider to be sort of long lead value add items down at Springdale, and are continuing to do a lot of work sort of at the test work phase for the battery anode processing flow sheet. A lot of our focus, though, has been particularly at, I guess, my level and with Phil, our chairman, around the funding structure of the company and what that looks like ultimately. And so we've been in the US over the past 2 or 3, 4 months and pursuing a number of lines of inquiry that we're getting for potential funding of the projects. And we would hope that we could get something into the marketplace during certainly this calendar year with respect to how we're evolving the funding structure of the company.
Yeah, it sounds like very exciting times for IG6. Andrew, thank you so much for your time today.
Pleasure, Tyler. Thanks for the chat.